All right, welcome back. This is M Dog, and we are. Well, I guess this is day two of trying out Amber. I know we had last week spent a little bit of time trying to focus on some content away from Amber, which I definitely think is worth doing, and especially focusing on some of the lower level lakes and rivers to give newer players to the game some options on hotspots and different ways to approach things. But I have this week, when I've had a chance to play, wanted to kind of see how things were going on Amber. Um, and so yesterday we featured the pond using classic pop-up rig with black currant corn, and had really good results there. I just really felt like that was a good uh, a good spot there, kind of over here in I think B5. I don't think it was in B4. I think it was B5. I can't exactly remember. I think B5 is fair, but reference the video from yesterday if you didn't see that and you want more information on that. I think that was probably honestly a more consistent spot even than this. But what we're trying here today is over at Peg 1, 67, 157. I'm at a 35 meter clip. Now, this is a spot that I've fished at a lot, and I've even made probably fairly recent videos talking about this spot. This is often really good, and I feel like in the last several months, there's been a lot of occasions where it's been worthwhile to kind of rotate to this spot. And remember, if you're not super familiar with this spot, I'll kind of point this out. This is Peg 1. You see the little pegs on the map, and 6 of them are numbered. This just happens to be the first one that's numbered. There's other pegs as well, but those are the number ones when you look at the map. Remember, and we're kind of casting actually pretty much in that direction, but there's also spots over here across from where we're fishing right now, casting back in this direction, and that is typically very good as well. So across from Peg 1 and Peg 1 for a long time now have been really, really good spots. But we're sitting here at a 35 meter clip, 67, 157. I'm trying to spread these three out just slightly. So the farthest right one, I'm kind of aiming at the very tip of the island. The middle one just past the tip. And then this one just kind of a little bit to the left of that. Just spread them out slightly. But basically we're fishing in a very similar spot. Have the same baits on all three. So far, we haven't done great, but I've only been here about 20 minutes. I've had one crucian and one leather undersized. Everything else been in an acceptable range and type of fish. I would say here in this spot, compared to where we fished in the video yesterday at the pond, the thing that this spot has is it's just got more potential of catching really special fish. You're probably seeing a little higher percentage of trophies coming out here. And you also are seeing some rare carp still coming out here. So I still think per hour, you're going to do consistently better, believe it or not, over in that pond spot. But here, you're kind of like rolling the dice, trying to hit it big. And we'll see how this spot does once we get into the afternoon, evening. I don't know if we'll stay with it all throughout the overnight to see first thing in the morning. The morning might be the very best, but we'll see how the evening looks because that's usually a pretty good time as well. So 35 meter clip. I've kind of showed you where we're casting. Let's take a look at what we're actually fishing with here. So these are some baits that we've used a lot lately. Basically the Snowman rig, which more about Snowman rig here in a minute, with pepper and mussel 18 pellets and mussel corn. So notice the 2-0 hook. We have all three lines set up the exact same. Mussel dip, and then this mussel PVA. I like this PVA. I saw this on VK. I don't know that I've ever tried this before. So typically, when you're doing a mussel approach, that last additive, you might either crush up some boilies or put like a crab and mussel type thing in there. But this person had just added a size 6 corn feed pellet, and so I'm giving that a try. I like the idea of that, just throwing in a little corn. Corn seems just like such a generic carp bait that even though we're using fishy baits here, it's kind of intriguing that, corn might work as well, just as a last additive. So I'm giving that a try. I hadn't really ever tried that before, I don't believe. We are using the small PVA bags, and that brings us back to Snowman. Just even with the 2.0 hooks, the truth is, for me at least, what I notice when I'm using the Snowman rig, I tend to catch, on average, smaller fish. But sometimes the Snowman rig does a really good job of, of still performing really well. But out of all the carp rigs, I feel like Snowman rig and Maggot rig are going to catch those crucian gibbles, sometimes undersized carp. And there's just kind of no way to avoid that, in my opinion. Here's a good example right here. I think you see a higher percentage of those smaller fish when you're using Snowman than you do with really any of the other approaches, other than Maggot. Maggot might be the worst, but that doesn't mean it's not worth using. However, I would be nervous about. Not nervous. I wouldn't necessarily want to use 20-gram bags in this situation because I'm not sure if it impacts the fishing enough to justify how many bags you're losing to like undersized carp or crucian gibbles and that kind of stuff. But we're seeing a little bit of everything here. I mean, we've caught, a couple tench. We've seen the small stuff. We've seen a leather coming in a little bit, frame-sided, barbel. What we haven't seen, at least yet, and we'll see if this holds up once we get into the evening, early evening even, we haven't seen any commons or mirror carp. What I think you can catch here, though, and we'll see if we get lucky and see one, is I do think that the red starvis carp, one of the rare species, may occasionally show up. I think the frames, if you're talking about like what trophies might we get here, you're either hoping to get a rare trophy, maybe a trophy barbel. Barbel tend to love the mussel flavored stuff. And I think the frame carp are going to end up being pretty strong here. So maybe you get a lucky frame trophy as well. So those are the trophies that I would think you're going to have the most, likely chance of seeing, but of course you never know. And I'll be curious, we'll give it a little bit more time here, if we do see any other species like a mirror or even a common come in. So we shall see. So I'm finally done with my work week. It's Friday evening. I'm just exhausted. So, sorry, that's not true. It's Thursday evening. See, I don't even know what day it is. So just as a heads up, if you happen to see this video either Thursday night late or Friday morning early or something, I really am going to aim towards / plan on getting in an RF4 stream on tomorrow, Friday. I don't want to promise anything, but that is definitely my hope and my plan, to spend a good amount of time streaming tomorrow, and hopefully if some folks are around, just get to see folks, because I really haven't gotten to hang out with folks, at least on a live stream, in quite a bit. All right, let's see what we've got here. Man, I'd love to see a lucky starvis come in. Maybe just like a nice 8-9 kilo one. I would be totally fine with that. Not feeling greedy. Yeah, there's another frame. I think the frames are pretty strong in this spot. But you can see from the bite rate, I mean, let's take a look after we get this fish in. We should be getting fairly close to a 30-minute net at this point. And, you know, I started recording the video during the slow part of the day so that we could kind of see it hopefully pick up a little bit as we get into the evening hours. But regardless, like, this just isn't going to be anything like what we were doing at the pond yesterday. It's kind of fun. This spot's sort of fun because there's so much more variety of things you could get here. So in that sense, it's cool. But I just think in terms of silver and XP, consistency-wise, hour to hour, this spot probably would have a hard time competing with the pond, at least in my experience. I've had that happen a little bit here. And I don't know, again, with the snowman rig, maybe we're seeing some smaller fish hit the boilie, or sorry, hit the pellet, hit the rig, hit the pellet and the corn, and then, you know, with that 2-0 hook on there, maybe sometimes they just bounce right off. But I've seen some, like, nibbles, you hear the bells ringing, you can tell it gets moved a little bit, and then it just seems to kind of go away. That's my suspicion, is that it's the small fish, because you don't typically see that too much when you're carp fishing. Normally you just see the long nibble, but it's consistent. Not like this where it just like goes away and then, you know, we'll end up catching something on that line, but I'm pretty sure it'll end up being a different fish than what just hit it. So it's 1900, 21 degrees, kind of ideal. I mean, you know, seems like good carp weather. So this is where we want to see this spot start to pick up a little bit. Justify our time investment in this spot, hopefully in the next few minutes. Nice quick bite. Let's see what this is. There you go. Sometimes you just get lucky. It's not as big as we were hoping, but it's still a nice 5.1 red Starvis. 50,000 extra XP because of happy hour. That's why you're here. So, I mean, if you think about from an XP perspective with happy hour, you know, that one fish does equal several other fish. But still, like in that pond spot, like, we were catching quite a few. Not only do we have a really good bite rate, but we were catching quite a few up over 10 kilos. So, you know, I think you'd have to get several of those red Starvis to start thinking like, oh, maybe this is better. But you catch a 5.1, you sort of realize like, you never know. You might see a trophy rare come in if you're patient here. Plus, I just love fishing off these pegs. Now all we need are the pod stands, instead of just the individual pod rod holders. Rod stand is what I'm talking about. That would be even cooler. We're about a week away from being a month since the last, you know, update, news story, anything about RF4. And I said this back then when that update came out, so, you know, 3.5 weeks ago or whatever. In my opinion, this game would benefit greatly from more regular updates, better communication, more frequent communication. But, you know, who knows what's going on behind the scenes right now. But for whatever reason, we're just not getting it right at the moment. Okay, decent fish. So, yeah, I mean, we're all of a sudden, that's a real nice fish. we're all of a sudden we're seeing things pick up a little bit, at least quality wise. Let's kind of back it off here, be a little bit more careful with this one. You never know. You never know when it's going to be like a 16 kilo red Starvis or something. So let's don't be so aggressive that we guarantee it pops off. Let's try to, you know, you can just tell it's heavy. This might be like a leather or something. It's not fighting like a trophy or anything, but it has a little bit of bulk to it. It's actually not fighting at all. It's just the weight of it that's a little bit, makes you feel like, oh, is it about to pop off? I don't want to just like reel straight through that strain. There, it pulls a little bit. Swim to the side. So I like to just sort of lift it up, let that rod do a little work, and then come back down. And when I say come back down, I don't mean come down to where you're actually like pointing at the fish. You don't want to have it low at all. But come back down to sort of a normal position and just use that little bit of slack to kind of keep that head pointed towards you, moving towards you. If I'm going to be aggressive at all and try to keep it coming towards me even when it's not tired at all, kind of like this, then that's what I'll do. I feel like just consistently reeling against its weight and, you know, its fighting is not the way to go. For me, at least, I see more fish got aways when I'm doing that. Well, let's take a close look at this. Definitely a frame, and definitely a decent one. 15, 16 kilos? Or am I way off? I'm actually not sure. I don't see enough frames to have a good sense of size. So 17.6. About half of the XP we got, comparing it to that red Starvis with Happy Hour. But still a nice, really nice fish to bring in, especially during Happy Hour. And there's a barbel. So one fun thing about this spot, I always enjoy fishing for carp when common barbel are also a part of the equation. So when you're using fishy stuff at a spot where barbel are all active, kind of breaks up the carp, and it also ends up adding up. I mean, you get a couple, even if they're not trophies, a couple 5 to 7 kilo barbel in there. And that definitely helps with the silver when you go to sell the fish. They sell pretty decent, and you're getting them in with no effort practically. So, and we'll see how quiet this spot gets once it really hits nighttime, like late midnight-ish. I'm a little worried it might get really slow, so we might kind of cut the video off at that point, but we'll see. If there's no mirror carp at all biting, and I don't know if I have a good sense of how the frames will do overnight, but if there's no mirrors, a lot of times to me that means that nighttime's going to be a lot slower. Now I say that, and is this our first mirror? No, it's just a small frame. It was so small it almost didn't have the shape. I have no idea. Okay, it's just really small. I thought it had swam towards shore so far we hadn't caught up with it. There's a little tench. No, that's a crucian. My bad. Our second crucian. So we've had a couple tench, crucians, and a gibble to go with the barbel and the different carp. Did that get a fish on there that fast, or did I pull so hard it popped up like that? I'm just going to leave it alone. So cool. I'm glad that we got to see the red starvis at least. Let's see what the next few minutes look like. And we'll decide if we're going to sit here a little longer or not from there. See what this ends up being. I mean, it already feels like it's slowing down now that it's nighttime. But we'll see. We'll hopefully get this fish in if it turns into a bite, and then we'll see if anything else is showing promise. What are we at right now? 40 minutes and only 21 fish. Now, weight-wise, we did have the 17.6 frame and the red starvis, so that helps. But overall, the bite rate definitely not what the spot from yesterday was like. There's a couple fish coming in now. Maybe that'll keep us interested a little longer. I think this is going to be one of those, it's kind of got to be patient spots. Try to get lucky on a nice rare. So there's a leather again. Leather carp not, so far hadn't been super active, but you know, they are here. Let's see what's going on with this. Very small. Barbel. Last barbel. It's too bad the barbels don't bite all night. That would help when the mirrors aren't active if barbels would keep biting, but alas, they really don't. Alright, it's almost midnight. I'll give it a minute or two just because I'm curious just how slow it's going to get, but that was some quick action there. No hesitation with whatever this is. It just took it and ran. It's pretty small. Is it like one last barbel? I guess that's our best hope. That or a tench maybe? No, it's a small leather, I think. Not what you want to see with that size. But better than nothing. Yeah, that'd have been a really nice tench, actually. Looks like slow is what overnight's going to be. This will be really interesting to see what this is. After such a quiet few minutes here, what did we finally catch? What's the possible fish to get overnight? I don't want to grab it too quick. Let's make sure it's actually on there. Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, this is not an overnight spot. In fact, you might even... is that a barbel? Is that a barbel proving me wrong that they will still bite overnight? I guess it's possible. Might even be worth letting the spot rest overnight. I don't know. It's been really bad. Really slow. Let's see. Let's try to be patient and see what we get first thing in the morning. We've waited this long. We can make it, I think. 2:30, so still like still too early to like say this is a morning fish. I mean, this is still like an overnight hours, still dark. I mean, if it's like 3:30, 4 o'clock, you start to think like, okay, that's like first sun up type bite. But this is still in the nights, and I think this is a frame. So we're still getting some of the same stuff. It's just way slow at night. So I guess I take that back. I guess you just suffer through the slow part. But, you know, if you can still catch a decent frame or a decent barbel, it's probably still worth having the rods in. I will say this, like with the species of fish we're catching here, we do not see a lot of long nibblers. Like every once in a while we've had to wait a few moments for a bite to come to fruition, but a lot of these bites have just been pretty immediate. Once again. All right, now we're at 4 a.m. I feel like we should be easing back into, you know, kind of as good as this spot's going to be. Which, bite rate wise, is probably not going to be great, but will be better than it was overnight, and just always have that chance of hitting a really nice one. So we'll try to go till 7, 8 a.m. just see what comes in the next few minutes. So we're on average, on pace to catch about 30 fish per hour. That just seems a little low for the quality of fish we're catching. Again, I think this is just more of it's not a super efficient spot for me right now, but it's a roll of the dice to try to get that special rare carp or special frame carp to come in. But on Snowman Rig, again, in my experience at least, that feels like a long shot most times. And we could try using, going either direction, going pop up, keeping the corn, but putting boilies with it. Or we could try going sinking, classic hair rig, keep the pellets, put boilies with it. Or we could just go corn or just go pellets, see how that goes, although that's might not be the optimal way. Maybe corn, not just pellets. I can't imagine that would be better, but who knows. Haven't tested either, at least not in this spot. I do like the mussel though, especially with barbel in the water. Yeah, it's just a little too slow, isn't it? Getting the occasional rare carp is probably not worth this low of a bite rate. Something pretty special would have to come in these next couple of minutes to justify this kind of bite rate in my mind. We're certainly not making that much silver. XP's pretty low per hour. It's fun in the sense like it's always fun with rare carp, and then also just the variety of other stuff like, we might see a trophy tench every once in a while here, common barbel, that kind of stuff, but overall just not quite strong enough. Wow. It's a nice one. Thought we just about called it there. We just about called our shot on a trophy tench. I'm being a little stubborn at this point. We will stop at about 8 a.m. So a little less than an in-game hour now, but sometimes I feel like when you hit a slow spot like this, maybe something really nice is about to come in, but we will, I'll let you know in the comments if something comes in after I stop the video, but which does often happen as well. But this has been just much lower, slower than I thought it would be. Like I said, I have fished this spot fairly recently and had better results than this, but I knew this wouldn't be quite like the pond was. In fact, standing over there across the way might be better than this even. I've done that in the past week as well, and it was pretty good. In fact, I think I used these exact same baits over there. Leather? Looks like it's got a pretty smooth side there, so I'm thinking leather. It's not very big though. Yeah, there really are just on the like fishy baits here, there really is just no interest of mirror or common carp, it looks like. Alright, this will be the last fish, and then I will put you out of your misery and bring this video to an end. Good grief. Oh man, do they really want you to catch a trophy bream at Amber? Foreshadowing. Alright, this is last fish. I'm calling it, okay? This is it. Unless there's another fish on when we pull this one in. Okay, which maybe there will be. Maybe we'll get two more. It's funny. I mean, this spot hasn't been great at all the whole day. It was actually strongest in the middle of the day, the hotter part of the day. Did okay in the late afternoon, early evening, but mostly it's just been a little on the slow side. And that's a frame. It's a frame. There's our trophy tench. Or not. Another frame. The frames are real. Guess if you don't have your trophy frame yet, that's a real possibility here. Come get lucky on a trophy frame. All right, as always, thanks for watching. I don't know. I don't know that I would encourage this spot unless you're just really wanting to go for the red Starvis or frame. But overall, just a little slow compared to what other spots might be like right now on Amber. So it's okay, though. It's always fun. Always good time. Tight lines, everybody.